Dear students, today let us study the second unit of the environmental studies, which is about the natural resources. We know that natural resources are very important for all the living organisms. Today we'll have a discussion on this topic, and after completion of this topic we will have another session of the multiple choice questions later on. Environmental Studies Unit 2, that is Natural Resources. Under this heading, we are going to study about the types of natural resources, forest resources, water resources, mineral resources, energy resources, and land resources. Today, let us discuss about the types of natural resources and the forest resources. Natural resources can be defined as the materials, products, or substances that living organisms take up from the nature for their sustenance and existence. That's really true. We know that all the living organisms, including the human beings, we all are depending upon the natural resources for our survival. And natural resources can be broadly classified into the biotic and abiotic. Let's take up the abiotic resources, which are all kinds of minerals, metal ores, coal, diamond, sand, salt, marble, limestones, gravel, uranium, gold, silver, water, and soil. So these are all the non-living things which we extract from the earth's crust, and utilize for our benefit. Then the biotic resources are forests, wild animals, domesticated animals, fish and marine organisms, mineral fuel, that is the crude oil we extract from the earth. This crude oil can also be taken as a biotic resource because it is produced by dead organisms, mainly diatoms, that gradually decompose under high pressure and heat to form hydrocarbons in millions of years. Hence, it is also included in biotic resources, along with the forests which we have around us, the wild animals from which we may be getting some benefits, then the domesticated animals which we make use of for our daily requirements. Then as a food we are exploiting the fish and other marine organisms, and then to make our mopeds move and to have the transportation, we are in need of petroleum and diesel all the time, and these are the crude oils which we extract from the earth's crust deep under the oceans. So these are the biotic and abiotic types of the natural resources, but let's take up the actual classification of the natural resources based on how long these resources are available for us. We have renewable resources, which are inexhaustible resources which will not be getting over, and the another type is non-renewable resources, and non-renewable resources are also called as exhaustible resources, which will be exhausting soon, and once they are finished we cannot get back again those resources. Now let's take up something about these two types of natural resources. Renewable resources, they have the capacity to reappear or replenish themselves by quick recycling, reproduction, and replacement within a reasonable time. Within a given time, these renewable resources can once again be created or generated by the nature. Whereas the non-renewable resources, they cannot be replaced or recycled by nature, or if it is so, it takes very, very long time to recycle. Renewable resources are water, soil fertility, plants, animals, microbes, fish and aquatic organisms, whereas non-renewable resources are coal, petroleum, gas, metal ores, etc., which the nature has taken millions of years to create. The renewable resources are unlimited, they are available all the time, whereas non-renewable resources are limited, going to exhaust soon. Though the renewable resources are replenished by the nature in a given time, but if we exploit them faster than they can be replaced by nature, then it will definitely lead to, again, exhaustion of these renewable resources. Non-renewable resources, once are exhausted, as we know, we cannot get them back. Hence, we have to use them in sustainable way, in very limited fashion. Some animals have become extinct by overexploitation. The Earth's reserve of coal and crude oil is also dwindling faster. There is a need to conserve these resources. So on both the sides, we are losing something. The renewable resources which we have been exploiting more than what is needed, and this overexploitation has led to extinction of some of the animals. Many species of the fish have become extinct. Some mammals have become extinct. That is just one example. There are so many examples of the extinct animals, birds and other organisms, which we'll take up in another topic. Now, a poet called Joyce Kilmer has written a nice poem which is on a tree. So let us take it first just to have a change under the second side heading of this topic, forest resources. Let's read through this very famous poem on trees. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as tree. A tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robin in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. So very nicely the importance of tree has been depicted in this poem by Joyce Kilmer. Some way back, I think we have discussed in our previous lectures that the environment also has a very good impact on the intellectuals, the poets, the artists who express their feeling about the environment in the form of the art or in the form of the poetry that will definitely encourage the people and create the awareness about the importance of forest and the environment. Now we are talking about the forest resources. Forests represent biotic community as we know. It consists of trees, shrubs are the woody highly branched, you can say, woody vegetations, and also the herbs, all together make up the forest. Forest floor, that is the floor of the forest on the ground, which is also rich in dead and decaying organic matter, fallen leaves, fungi, worms, crabs, insects, and other tiny organisms that serve as scavengers. Not only that, there are bacteria and fungi actively participating in decomposition of the dead organic matter, so that minerals and nutrients are released back into the soil, and this keeps the nutrient cycle on. Because the growing plants, they need the nutrients, and these nutrients are recycled by decomposition of the dead organic matter in the soil. A forest can be of two main types: tropical rainforest or tropical forest and temperate forest. Tropical refers to the altitude range or latitude range where these forests are growing. The tropical rainforests cover about 52% of the world's forest area, whereas temperate forest covers 25% of the world's forest area. Tropical forests do not have any dry season. They contain evergreen trees. But temperate forests have dry season. Average precipitation per year in tropical rainforest is 200 to 1000 centimeters, whereas average precipitation per year in temperate forest is just 75 to 150 centimeters. Tall trees with close canopy is what the structure of the tropical forest, whereas the temperate forest is characterized by deciduous trees that shed their leaves in winter season and again produce the new leaves in spring. Now fauna and flora are existing. Fauna means the animals, and flora means the plants, vegetations that make up the main biotic components of both the tropical and the temperate forests. Now let us see where these two forests are located on the globe. Tropical rainforests are found in 28 degrees north or south of the equator, whereas the temperate forests are found in the latitudes of 25 degrees to 50 degrees north or south of the equator. Then facts about forest resources. Let us take up some of the facts. Earlier 40% of the Earth's surface was covered with the forest area, but now it has reduced to just 25%. But actually speaking, we need at least 33% of the Earth's surface covered with the forest for a healthy environment. But we see now that it is less than what is the minimum requirement of the forest area. Thus, to save planet Earth, we need to increase the forest area. How we are going to do it? By planting the trees through afforestation and reforestation. Afforestation means planting the trees in barren land where there was no forest existing before. So we are converting the barren land into a forest area by either planting the saplings there or sowing the seeds, providing all the necessary conditions so that a new forest comes up. Reforestation is the method of planting the trees in the area where deforestation has been done. That means inside the forest area, wherever we have cut the trees, we will plant new trees there so that once again the forest area becomes rich in trees. Now, forestry policy was framed in 1988. In India, per capita availability of forest area is 0.06 hectare, while that of the world is 0.64 hectare. This data is also giving us one clue that here per person what should be the forest area available, that is less than the other countries in the world. That is probably here the population is very vast. Social forestry was first formulated in 1946, and it was the social forestry taken up as one of the means to support the people who are living around the forest area, near the forest area, taking them into confidence, and with their help a sustainable utilization of the natural resources can be attained. So that social forestry was formulated in 1946. Afforestation, as I have already explained to you, is creating the forest in open barren land by planting or sowing the trees, seeds. Reforestation, as we have noted, planting trees where the forest has been cleared before, or planting more native trees in a forest area which has decreasing number of trees. Now let's take up the uses of forest. Of course, forests protect the fertility of soil, and if soil is fertile, then only the living organisms, especially the plants, will grow, and the organisms depending on plants can survive and continue to exist. Now the first use here comes up: protect land and water. Forests protect the land and water resources on this earth. Forests utilize the carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and release the life-supporting gas oxygen into the atmosphere. Forests also control the floods and prevent the soil erosion, and thereby protecting the fertility of the soil. Forests prevent landsliding, provide raw material for industries, because many industries are dependent on the forest for their raw material. To quote a few, like paper industry and medicines, then carpentry. All these are the construction material we extract from the forest area. That is all the raw material used in the industries. Then thick, impenetrable forest. What that means: the forests which are very thick, where no one can penetrate inside, very thick, naturally occurring forests are the home for several species of the plants and animals. and hence forests also protect biodiversity of planet Earth, because these living organisms, the wild animals, as well as innumerable species of various plants are living there, surviving there without any disturbance. Forests control sound pollution in urban areas as green mufflers. Students, green muffler means it's nothing, you should not connect it with the muffler which we wear around our head or put it on our shoulders. Here the green muffler refers to many layers of the trees in concentric circles grown around the area where the industries are there, so that some industries which produce lot of noise, like for example the thermal power plants and so many other industries where heavy huge machines are operated, so there will be lot of noise produced, and that is causing the sound pollution. And even airports where the aeroplanes land and take off, during the takeoff and landing we know that there is a lot of sound produced in that area. So the such areas are also covered by the trees all around. So such a kind of protective layers of the trees, huge trees which have got very huge canopy, these trees also absorb the sound waves and protect the human beings from the harms caused by the sound pollution. Then comes the other uses. Forests are the dwelling places for many indigenous tribal people. We know that tribal people live inside the forest area. Their whole life is dependent on the forest. They live with the nature, and that is also keeping the old traditional tribal culture and art existing till today. Each acre of the forest absorbs about 31.45 tons of carbon. Just imagine how important the forest is, or the trees are, especially because trees absorb the carbon dioxide from the air and reducing the concentration of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. As we know, if the carbon dioxide concentration increases in the air, it leads to global warming, and therefore increasing the forest area is the best method to control the global warming. Now let's take up the next point. Forests provide the resources which are needed for almost every person. And not only that, if we have a forest area just at the outskirts of the cities, it is a recreational area. That means where we can go and enjoy the beauty of the nature. We can have a trip to such forest area, look at the nature, spend some time over there, and that's what called as the recreational activities. And these are also being organized by the government with utmost care, that the no harm is done to the environment. Recreational activities are actually very important. That also spreads the general awareness about how important the forest area is. Many school teachers, high school teachers, take their children for a study tour to such nearby forest area and make them learn more about the forest and the natural environment. So recreational activities are also one of the uses of the forest. And then forest provides fodder, timber, resins, honey, and so many other medicines and all other useful materials for us to utilize. Now let's take up deforestation. The picture which has appeared there, just have a look at that, how badly the forest has been destroyed, cut for the human needs. It is very, very sad to see that slowly the forest cover of the earth is decreasing. Something has to be done seriously. Deforestation can be defined as the ruthless cutting of the trees or destroying the forest area. Now, causes of deforestation. What are the causes of deforestation? Let us take up. Lack of general awareness is one thing. People are not educated. People don't know the importance of the forest area, so they tend to overexploit the resources of the forest. Population explosion is also one of the cause for deforestation, because as the human population increases, we need to expand our villages, our cities. So we encroach into the forest area, cut the trees, build the houses and create a new dwelling for the human beings. Then industrial development and urbanization is also the cause of deforestation. For setting up industries also, we clear up large area of the forest, and even to expand the cities, to convert the villages into cities, to urbanize as a part of the development of the country, we are causing damage to our natural resources, our forests. So that is how the deforestation is taking place. Expansion of agriculture also is one of the cause, because in order to increase the area for growing the plants which give us the food, like the vegetables, pulses and cereals, we are sometimes clearing the forest area and utilizing it for the agriculture. Likewise, construction of dams, railway lines, roads also cause the deforestation. Overgrazing and commercial extraction of the timber, shifting, cultivation or jung culture is also one of the cause. And mining. Overgrazing, that is, if we are allowing the domesticated mammals to graze in the forest area, they will be eating up a lot of the grasses, herbs and other tiny germinating plants. So this also leads to the deforestation. And of course, for timber, we are cutting the trees, and even timber is being not only utilized within the country, but a huge amount of timber is being exported to other countries, and that is how the felling of the trees will lead to deforestation. Shifting cultivation is one kind of agriculture practice which is seen in northeast area of India, where a part of the forest area is cut and it is burned, so that when it is turned into the ashes, that will increase the potassium, phosphate and other other, we can say, the minerals, and then these people will grow their crops in that area, and after 5 to 6 years abandon that area and then choose another patch of the forest area and again go on cutting the trees, and this is how they have caused damage to the natural resources, leading to deforestation. And of course, for mining, uh, we cause a lot of damage to the natural resources. Mining is extraction of the mineral ores from the earth's crust, and that also leads to deforestation. Now, whatever we have taken up now, these points, these causes, lack of general awareness, population explosion, industrial development and urbanization, expansion of our agriculture land, then construction of dams, railway lines, roads, overgrazing, commercial extraction of the timber, shifting or jhum culture, and mining, all these are the anthropogenic causes, that is, because of the human activities have caused the deforestation. It can also be due to the natural causes, like, for example, forest fire and the pests sometimes which destroy the forest area at a large scale, like, for examples, locusts, which move in the number of millions and millions together and in a very short time eat away the leaves of the trees in the forest. And not only that, when the forest fire erupts, we see that a huge area of the forest across the countries is destroyed, and also the wild animals are killed. So these are the natural causes which occur sometimes, but more damage has been done by the anthropogenic causes. Now, effects of deforestation, let us take up. Deforestation leads to floods and landslides, soil erosion and decrease in soil fertility. Okay, now let us know how the deforestation can lead to floods in the river. Let's take up one small diagram. Suppose this is the cross section of the river. This is the depth of the river. And let us assume that there is a forest cover all around. Yes. The forest is very well existing here on either side of the river. Now it is in healthy environment and the river is flowing with its normal course. Now let us imagine that later on deforestation takes place. Now what happens after deforestation? Let us try to imagine. Suppose the trees are cut over here. Deforestation has taken place and maybe the concrete buildings have come up. As now the trees are cut, what happens is the topsoil will be eroded. When it rains or due to the wind, the topsoil will go on depositing at the bottom of the river. So as a result, what happens is the bottom of the river rises and the depth of the river becomes narrow. And when it rains heavily, now the river doesn't have that much space to accommodate the extra water which is falling into it due to rain. So the water has to overflow and it leads to the floods. That's why nowadays we come across with the news of floods during the rainy season in many parts of the world. So therefore, it shows us how important the forest cover is, how important the trees are there. So deforestation will lead to such a kind of the natural calamities where due to floods, many lives will be lost, many houses will be destroyed, and so many economical and social problems arise. Extinction of plants and animals, as well as microorganisms that were living in forest, threatens existence of tribal communities, decrease in rainfall, and increase in drought conditions. It also contributes to global warming. Thus, deforestation has its impact on ecosystem, human beings, as well as other living organisms on this earth. Now, what efforts we can have to conserve or protect the forest resources? The forests are very, very important, as we have been learning about this fact. Their protection and conservation is very important, and the efforts should be done by the mankind, the humans. We only have to make the forest again appear in vast areas on the face of the earth. In India, trees are worshipped and forests are protected by the villagers, small village communities which live just near the forest area. Let's look into the past, what has happened. In 1730, Bishnoi women, Amrita Devi and the Kejrali village people, which is located in the Jodhpur, around 363 Bishnois, along with that Amrita Devi, who led this effort towards the protection of the trees. There are trees called as Kejrali trees, which are very important or sacred for the people belonging to Bishnoi religion. They protect them and they take care of. And these trees, since ages, were flourishing in the Jodhpur area at the foothills of the Himalaya. But what has happened? A very sad tragedy has happened during the time of 1730. These 363 people, village people, along with Amrita Devi, they have sacrificed their lives. How? Let's see. Then Maharaja Abhay Singh has ordered the royal party men to cut the Kejrali trees and bring the timber for some purpose, as he was going to build a palace, and he ordered his men to go and cut the trees and bring the timber from there. When these royal party men reached that place and they started to cut the trees, the village people came in protest. against them. First was the Amrita Devi, who came and hugged a tree and said that if at all you want to cut the tree, first you have to cut my head. And this is how it started. But those ruthless people from the order of the government at that time, the Maharaja's order, obeying that order, they have killed Amrita Devi. Then all other village people also started coming, women, men, young girls, married, unmarried, children, each one hugged one tree and they have sacrificed their lives. And only after 363 villages were slaughtered along with the trees, the Maharaja Abhay Singh stops the cutting of these trees and calls their men back. And that is a very, very dark day in the history of India. But they have left a very, very appealing, very strong message, or very strong a kind of the notion for the whole world to understand the importance of the trees and the forest area. Khejuri tree, it is actually not the Khejurali, found in the Khejurali village, and its scientific name is Prosopis cinerea. Prosopis cinerea. It's also called as a Shami Vriksha. So cutting this tree is prohibited in Vaishnava religion. That's why this tragedy happened. Then similarly, Chipko movement was started in 1972 in Tehri Gahrwal region. It is Garhwal actually, Garhwal region of the Uttarakhand, which was in Uttar Pradesh earlier. It is at the foothills of Himalaya. Many women hugged the trees and did not allow the contractors to cut the trees. Looking at the people's strong opposition, the contractors had to go back. This movement was led by Sundarlal Bahuguna. In 1980, then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi issued a ban on felling of trees in the Himalayan region. At last, the Chipko movement got victory. Trees protected by Garhwal women were ash trees. Now this is the picture of the women holding the trunk of very huge trees and not allowing the contractors to cut the trees. In Karnataka also, the Chipko movement was taken up as Appiko movement. It had the three objectives: Ulisu, Belasu and Barasu. Ulisu means conserve, Belasu means to grow, and Balasu, that is use it. If we protect these trees, conserve them, grow them, make them appear in large number on the earth's surface, then only we can use them, utilize the resources from the trees. It was started by Pandurang Hegde in September 1983, and the main purpose was to protect and save the Western Ghats, whatever remaining forest area is there, to protect that and to save that forest area, this movement was taken up. Then social forestry is planting trees for firewood, fodder, agriculture practices, or for other purposes on public and common land for the benefit of rural community. So by social forestry, taking into account the people living in and around the forest area, we can have a sustainable utilization by this way. Tribal community is the community, the people living in the forest area or near the forest area. This community is encouraged to stop jhum cultivation because it is leading to deforestation. Then growing fruit trees and ornamental trees in urban areas along the roads and vacant land also will help in again reforesting, or we can say once again making the world green. Actually, when we grow the trees in open lands, it is the afforestation, and wherever the trees are already cut, there if we grow, it is called as reforestation. So all these come under the urban forestry program. Over-exploitation of the forest resources for timber and forest-based industries, export of forest product, all this has drastically resulted into loss of forest cover in India and other countries as well. Mining, that is extracting mineral raw materials from the earth, has adversely affected the forest area. Constructing a dam has displaced around 21 million people who were living in and around the forest area. In 1980, 5 lakh, that is 500,000 hectares of forest area was submerged after construction of dams in India. It has also displaced a vast number of people living on banks of the river. In India, there are 4,291 dams, that means 9% of the total dams in the world. Purpose of building dams was to supply water for irrigation, which is about 93% of the water retained in the dam is utilized for irrigation or for agriculture purpose, and for electricity about 2% to generate the electricity, and for drinking only 1% of it is used. That's all, guys. We will take up another topic in the next class.